Miss Elara wasn't just the librarian of Willow Creek. She was its living archive, its beating heart of ink and imagination. Her library, nestled like a sleepy owl beneath ancient oaks, smelled perpetually of dust motes dancing in sunbeams, and the comforting musk of aging paper. Children whispered that she hadn't been born, but woven from the pages of forgotten tales, she knew every story within her walls, not merely their plots, but their very souls. The sigh of a lonely prince, the crackle of a dragon's first fire, the exact cadence of a brave mouse's tiny roar. Her voice, soft as turning pages, could conjure entire worlds before the first sentence was fully spoken, making the towering shelves feel less like wood and more like doorways. One rain-slicked autumn afternoon, a small boy named Leo appeared. Water dripping from his too large coat, he stood hesitant near the towering fantasy section, dwarfed by knights and wizards on the spines. His eyes, wide and a little lost, scanned the overwhelming titles. Miss Elara, sensing his quiet turmoil as clearly as she sensed the rhythm of a sonnet, approached not with questions, but with a gentle offering. The story you need often finds you first, dear. Sometimes it helps to start with a friend. She led him not to the grand adventures, but to a worn armchair bathed in golden light near the window, where a small, unassuming book about a lost kitten finding its way home awaited. Thus began their quiet ritual every Wednesday after school. Leo would arrive, sometimes bursting with words about his day, other times folded into himself like a crumpled page. Miss Elara never pried. She simply listened with the deep patience of one accustomed to the slow unfolding of narratives. Then she would begin. She didn't just read the stories, she breathed life into them. When she told of the lonely shepherd boy talking to the stars, the library's ceiling seemed to dissolve into a velvet night sky. When she recounted the tale of the old woman who planted a single seed of hope, the air hummed with the promise of spring. Leo would sit utterly still, his own world momentarily forgotten, lost in the worlds she spun solely for him. Years pirouetted by like falling leaves. Leo grew taller, his interests shifting from picture books to thick novels about explorers and inventors he visited less often, caught in the swift current of teenage years. Yet, whenever life felt too loud or confusing, the familiar scent of old paper and the sight of Miss Elara's serene smile drew him back. He'd find her still in her chair, perhaps a little frilier, her silver hair a softer cloud, but her eyes holding the same infinite universe of tales. She'd greet him not with surprise, but with the quiet certainty of a book opened to the exact right page, ready to offer a story that felt uncannily like the answer to a question he hadn't voiced. Time, however, is a story even the wisest librarian cannot rewrite. One winter, Miss Elara simply didn't open the library doors. Whispers rustled through Willow Creek like dry leaves. Leo, now a young man returning from university, felt the news like a physical blow. The library stood silent, shrouded in an unfamiliar hush. The day of her small memorial service, Leo found himself drawn to its locked doors. The caretaker, recognizing him, silently handed him a key. Stepping inside felt like entering a sacred, empty cathedral. Dust motes still danced, but the air was cold, devoid of its usual magic. Grief, thick and heavy, settled on his shoulders. He wandered past the familiar shelves, his fingers trailing over beloved spines. Then, near her worn armchair, he saw it, a simple, unmarked journal resting where she always sat. Opening it, his breath caught inside. In her elegant, flowing script were not just titles or summaries, but stories, hundreds of them condensed, yet complete, filled with her unique turns of phrase, the subtle inflections she used, the heart of each tale laid bare. And on the very last page, a note addressed simply, "For Leo, keep the stories alive, they know the way home." Tears blurred the ink as he read the first entry, the story of the lost kitten, Written exactly as she had first told it to him, her voice echoed in every perfectly chosen word. Leo closed the journal. Holding it close, he knew then that Miss Elara hadn't truly left. She lived in the sigh of the lonely prince, the crackle of the dragon's fire, the brave mouse's roar. She lived in every carefully preserved story within the journal's pages. Taking a deep breath filled with the scent of paper and memory, Leo sat down in her old armchair. He opened the journal, and for the first time, with a voice thick with emotion but growing stronger, he began to read aloud. The words, her words, filled the quiet space, chasing away the cold outside. The wind rustled the ancient oaks, whispering that the librarian who knew every story by heart had simply found a new way to tell them. The library and its magic had found its new keeper.